Hello everyone, in this video I will discuss about the shadow. Why do people avoid facing their own darkness? There is an old saying that every person carries two lives. One is the light that the world sees, and the other is the light hidden behind the curtain of the soul. We spend years decorating the visible life, our careers, our families, our appearance, our achievement, yet often ignore the hidden one. But the hidden life never disappears. It quietly shapes our decisions, our relationships, our fears, and even our destiny. The hidden part of ourselves is what the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung called the shadow. Perhaps one of Jung's greatest discoveries was not that human beings have the dark side. We have known that for thousands of years, but that the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge become the very forces that consciously control our lives. The shadow is not evil. It's simply everything about ourselves that we do not want to see. It is our fear, our anger, our jealousy, our selfishness, our pride, our insecurity, our shame. Sometimes it even includes our hidden talents, our creativity, and our greatness that we are afraid to express because we fear criticism or rejection. The shadow is everything we push into the basement of our mind. The problem is that basement is never empty. It grows. We all wear masks. From childhood, every human being learns which parts of themselves are acceptable. A child who cries too much may hear, "Stop crying." A child who speaks honestly may hear, "Be quiet." A child who becomes angry may be punished. A child who dreams differently may be laughed at. Little by little, we begin hiding parts of ourselves. We create a mask. Jung called this mask is persona, the face we show the world. We become the successful employee, a perfect mother, a strong father, a generous friend, a religious believer, the intelligent scholar. These roles are necessary because society cannot function without them. But beneath every mask lives the shadow. The more perfect the mask becomes, the darker the shadow often grows, because whatever we refuse to accept within ourselves does not disappear, it simply waits. Why do people avoid their shadow? The answer is surprisingly simple: because it hurts. Looking into the shadow means admitting things we do not want to believe. Perhaps we are more selfish than we imagine. Perhaps we judge others because we secretly dislike ourselves. Perhaps our anger comes from wounded pride. Perhaps our need to control others comes from fear. Perhaps our constant busyness is simply an attempt to avoid loneliness. Facing these truths is uncomfortable. Our ego wants to protect the image we have built about ourselves. It whispers, "I am a good person. I am always right. I am the victim. I deserve better." The shadow quietly replies, "Look deeper." That conversation is one most people spend their entire life avoiding. The pleasure trap. Human beings naturally move toward pleasure and away from pain. This instinct helped our ancestors survive. Pain meant danger. Pleasure meant sick. But in the modern world, this ancient instinct often becomes our greatest obstacles to growth. Whenever uncomfortable emotions arise, many people immediately search for an escape. Some turn into endless entertainment. Some scroll through social media, some overeat, some drink alcohol, some shop, some gamble, some become addicted to work, some seek constant romance. Others spend their lives chasing money, believing the next promotion will finally make them happy. The activity itself is not always the problem. The question is, what are we trying not to feel? If pleasure becomes an escape from reality, it slowly becomes another prison. Temporary pleasure can numb pain. It cannot heal it. The wound remains beneath the surface. Suffering is often the doorway. Modern culture teaches us to avoid suffering at all costs, but nearly every great spiritual tradition teaches the opposite. Growth begins where comfort ends. A seed must break before it becomes a tree. Gold must endure fire before it shines. Muscles become stronger only after resistance. The same is true for the human soul. The pain we avoid today often becomes the suffering we cannot escape tomorrow. Ignore resentment becomes bitterness. Ignore fear becomes anxiety. Ignore sadness becomes depression. Ignore guilt becomes self-hatred. Ignore anger eventually explodes. The shadow always finds a way to speak. If we refuse to listen gently, life often forces us to listen through crisis, projection, seeing our shadow in others. One of Jung's most fascinating discoveries was the idea of projection. What we cannot accept within ourselves, we often see in other people. We accuse others of being arrogant. Perhaps we secretly desire recognition. We criticize someone's greed. Perhaps we fear our own attachment to money. We condemn other person's dishonesty. Perhaps we are avoiding truths about ourselves. This does not mean every criticism is wrong. Some people truly behave badly. But whenever someone triggers an unusually strong emotional reaction, it is worth asking, what part of me is being touched? Often the people who irritate us the most become our greatest teachers. They hold up a mirror. The shadow is rarely comfortable, but it is always honest. The shadow is not your enemy. Many people misunderstand Jung. They believe facing the shadow means becoming dark or negative. Quite the opposite. The goal is integration. Imagine a river. If you build a dam across it, the water does not disappear. Pressure builds. Eventually the dam breaks. Human emotions work the same way. Suppressing anger does not eliminate it. Suppressing fear does not create courage. Suppressing desire does not produce wisdom. Instead, maturity comes from learning to acknowledge these emotions without allowing them to control us. I feel anger, but I do not become anger. I feel fear, but fear does not become my master. This is emotional freedom, not the absence of darkness, but the ability to live peacefully beside it. Every human being has light and darkness. Nature itself teaches this lesson. Every day has sunrise and sunset. Every season has spring and winter. The moon has bright and dark phases. The ocean has calm waters and violent storms. Why should human beings be different? Perfection is not a goal. Wholeness is. A truly mature person is not someone who never feels jealousy. It is someone who recognizes jealousy before it becomes cruelty. A wise person is not someone who never feels anger. It is someone who transforms anger into courage and justice. Our darkness can become wisdom when it is understood instead of denied. How do we face the shadow? The journey begins with radical honesty. Ask yourself, what am I afraid people would discover about me? What emotions do I always avoid? What kind of people trigger me the most? What mistakes do I refuse to admit? What part of myself do I keep hiding? These questions are uncomfortable. That is why they are powerful. The shadow cannot survive in the light of awareness. Jung famously observed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. How often do people repeat the same failed relationships, the same financial mistakes, the same arguments, the same disappointments? They call it bad luck. Jung suggested another possibility. Perhaps the unconscious mind keeps repeating unfinished lessons until we are willing to see them. The courage to become whole. Facing the shadow is one of the bravest things a human being can do. It requires humility. It requires forgiveness. Most importantly, it requires compassion toward ourselves. The purpose is not to judge ourselves. The purpose is to understand ourselves. Imagine cleaning an old attic. The dust has accumulated for years. At first, the room looked worse because everything has been pulled into the open. But only then can it truly be clean. The human heart is no different. Healing sometimes looks messy before it becomes beautiful, living beyond the shadow. As we grow older, we eventually discover a profound truth. The greatest battle in life is not against other people, it is within ourselves. Victory does not mean destroying the shadow. Victory means making peace with it. When we stop pretending to be perfect, we become authentic. When we stop hiding our wounds, compassion grows. When we stop running from fear, courage quietly appears. When we stop chasing endless pleasure, we begin discovering lasting peace. There is a difference between happiness and peace. Happiness depends upon circumstances. Peace comes from self-acceptance. One disappears when life becomes difficult. The other remains even in the middle of the storms. The final lesson. Perhaps the shadow is not something to fear. Perhaps it is an invitation to become complete. Every human being carries both darkness and light. The wise person does not deny either one. Instead, they choose every day to let the light lead. The shadow reminds us where healing is needed. Our conscience reminds us where love is needed. And our spirit reminds us who we were created to become. The journey of life is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming ourselves fully. When we finally stop running from our shadow, something remarkable happens. The shadow no longer follows us from behind. It walks beside us. is recognized, understood, and transformed. That is the beginning of true freedom. That is the beginning of wisdom. And that is the beginning of a life lived consciously, courageously, and home. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the video. Please click subscribe to my channel for the next video.